ਧੰਨ ਹਨ ਧੰਨ ਹਨ ਧੰਨ ਹਨ ਪਰਮ ਪੂਜਨੀਕ ਸੱਚੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦੇਵ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਧੰਨ ਹਨ।
ਇੱਕ ਅਦੁੱਤੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵਾ, ਓੰਕਾਰ ਗੁਰ ਅੰਗਦ ਅਭੇਵਾ, ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਗੁਰ ਅਮਰ ਪਿਆਰੇ, ਕਰਤਾ ਰਾਮਦਾਸ ਗੁਰ ਵਾਰੇ, ਪੁਰਖੋ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਰਜਨ ਸੁਖਦਾਨੀ, ਨਿਰਭਉ ਹਰਿ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਗੁਣ ਖਾਨੀ, ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਹੈ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਹਰਿ ਰਾਏ, ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਹਰਿ ਕ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨ ਧਿਆਏ, ਅਜੂਨੀ ਤੇਗ ਬਹਾਦਰ ਰਾਏ, ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਦਸਮੇਸ਼ ਸਹਾਏ, ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਗੁਰ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਗਿਆਨਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਬੰਧਨ ਭਗਵਾਨਾ, ਜਾਪੋ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ, ਆਦਿ ਸਾਚੋ ਸੱਚੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ, ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸਾਚੋ ਸੱਚੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ, ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸਾਚੋ ਸੱਚੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ, ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸਾਚੋ ਸੱਚੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ। ਧੰਨ ਹਨ ਧੰਨ ਹਨ ਧੰਨ ਹਨ ਸੱਚੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦੇਵ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਧੰਨ ਹਨ। ਹੁਣ ਜ਼ਾਲਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਘੋਰ ਭਿਆਨਕ ਅਤਿਆਚਾਰ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਪਰ ਦੀ ਦੇਗ ਅੰਦਰ ਬਿਠਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਹੁਣ ਸਰਦੀ, ਹੁਣ ਮੱਚਦੇ ਰੇਤੇ ਤੇ ਬਿਠਾ ਕੇ ਮੱਚਦਾ ਰੇਤਾ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਪਰਮ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਪਰਮ ਪੂਜਨੀਕ ਸ਼ੁਭ ਸੱਚੇ ਸੁੱਚੇ ਉੱਚੇ ਮਹਾਨ ਪਰਉਪਕਾਰੀ ਸੀਸ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਹੁਣ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਸਰਦੀ ਬਲਦੀ ਮਚਦੀ ਲੋਹ ਤੇ ਖੜਾ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਆਪ ਜੀ 5 ਦਿਨ ਭੁੱਖ ਉਨੀਂਦਰਾ ਤ੍ਰਿਹ ਕਬੋਲ ਸਹਾਰਦਿਆਂ, ਤੇਰਾ ਕੀਆ ਮੀਠਾ ਲਾਗੈ, ਹਾਰੇ ਨਾਮ ਪਦਾਰਥ ਨਾਨਕੋ ਮੰਗੈ, ਜਪ ਜਪਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਕਹਾਂ ਬੁੱਧ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਤੁਛ ਹਮਾਰੀ, ਵਾਰਨ ਸਕਾ ਮਹਿਮਾ ਜੋ ਤਿਹਾਰੀ, ਹਮ ਨਾ ਸਕਤ ਕਰ ਸਿਫਤ ਤੁਮਾਰੀ, ਆਪ ਲਿਓ ਤੁਮ ਕਥਾ ਸੁਧਾਰੀ, ਪਿੰਗਲ ਪਰਬਤ ਪਾਰ ਪਰੇ, ਕਲ ਚਤੁਰ ਬਗੀਤਾ, ਅੰਧਲੇ ਤ੍ਰਿਭਵਨ ਸੂਝਿਆ, ਗੁਰ ਭੇਟ ਪੁਨੀਤਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਵਾਹਿ ਜੀਓ। ਗੁਰੂ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਸਵਾਰੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀਓ, ਆਓ ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਦੀ ਸਾਂਝ ਪਾਈਏ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀਓ, ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਗੁਰਦਾਸ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਜੋ ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਰਤਾਜ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਰਜਨ ਦੇਵ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਮਾਮਾ ਜੀ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਲਿਖਾਰੀ ਹੋਏ ਹਨ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਮਈ 12 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ 12ਵੀਂ ਵਾਰ ਦੀ ਚੌਥੀ ਪੌੜੀ ਹੈ, ਇਨ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਭਾਈ ਗੁਰਦਾਸ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ, the maternal uncle of Sri Guru Arjan Sahib Ji, within their Bani of their 12, within their 12th var, 4th paudi, they list out and explain the characteristics of a true Gurmukh, of a true Gursevak. They ਫਰਮਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਨ, ਹਉ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਘੋਲ ਘੁਮਾਇਆ, ਗੁਰ ਮਤ ਹਿਰਦੈ ਗਰੀਬੀ ਆਵੈ, ਹਉ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਘੋਲ ਕਮਾਇਆ, ਪਰ ਨਾਰੀ ਦੇ ਨੇੜ ਨਾ ਜਾਵੈ, ਹਉ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਘੋਲ ਘੁਮਾਇਆ, ਪਰ ਦਰਬੈ ਨੂੰ ਹੱਥ ਨਾ ਲਾਵੈ, ਹਉ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਘੋਲ ਘੁਮਾਇਆ, ਪਰ ਨਿੰਦਾ ਸੁਣ ਆਪ ਹਟਾਵੈ, ਹਉ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਘੋਲ ਘੁਮਾਇਆ, ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਕਾ ਉਪਦੇਸ਼ ਕਮਾਵੈ, ਹਉ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਘੋਲ ਘੁਮਾਇਆ, ਥੋੜਾ ਸਵੈ ਥੋੜਾ ਹੀ ਖਾਵੈ, ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਸੋਈ ਸਹਜ ਸਮਾਵੈ। So they list the characteristics and they say, ਹਉ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਘੋਲ ਕਮਾਇਆ, that I sacrifice, I surrender myself, ਮੈਂ ਵਾਰਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਬਲਿਹਾਰ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਵਾਂ ਉਸ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਦੇ, that has these characteristics, ਇਸ ਲੱਛਣ, ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਇਹ ਗੁਣ ਹੈਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ। So with Maharaji's ਕਿਰਪਾ, ਤੇਰਾ ਜੋਰ ਮੈਂ ਗੂੰਗਾ ਕਹਤਾ ਹੂੰ, Das and Dasi is going to be talking about and looking into that second line, ਹਉ ਤੇ ਸੋ ਘੋਲ ਕਮਾਇਆ, ਪਰ ਨਾਰੀ ਦੇ ਨੇੜ ਨਾ ਜਾਵੈ. So before we go into and look in the characteristics of a Gursevak, the character of a Gursevak, let's define what character means. So character, you can look at it in a way as your moral and mental makeup of an individual. So that means how we think, what we think about, our actions, how we speak, how we perceive and look into the world, so that who we are and how we react in certain situations within life are who it makes up what we are and who we are, and makes up our character. And a Gurmukh, a Gursikh, in a very simple and very dunge meaning, by Gurdas Sahib Ji within their Vara also explained, Gursikh la Gursikh hoy. So the first one, Gursikh Adar Patha, so Gursikh, meaning that individual that takes the Sikhya, the Mat, the Gurmat, the teachings of Guru Sahib, of Dhan Dhan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, implements them within his or her life, makes Gursikhi practical, he or she is a Gursikh. So Gursikh is someone who takes the teaching of Guru Sahib Ji and makes them practical. Rani, Bani, Gani, everything is according to Gurmat and Guru Sahib. So now let's go back to that Pankti. Haun te so ko le kumaya par nari de nere na java. So by Gurdas Sahib Ji here, they're saying कि दासन दास उस गुरसिख तो वार ने फेर ने कुर्बान जाता हाँ, उसकी परिक्रमा करता हाँ, उसकी पूजा करता हाँ, जो पराई इस्त्री नेड़े नहीं जाता. So पर था साखी महापुरख बोल दे. So it's the same token. So जो ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਸਤਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿੰਘਣੀ ਪਰਾਏ ਮਰਦ ਦੇ ਨੇੜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੀ. ਐਂਡ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਦੋ ਪੱਖ ਹਨ. ਪਹਿਲਾ ਪੱਖ ਸਰੀਰਕ ਤੇ, ਜਿਵੇਂ ਸਰੀਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਸ ਕੋ ਸੰਗਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀ, ਪਰ ਪਰਾਏ ਪੁਰਖ ਪਰ ਘਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ. ਐਂਡ ਤੇ ਦੂਜਾ ਪੱਖ ਇਸ ਪੰਕਤੀ ਦਾ ਹੈ ਮਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਵੀ ਅੰਦਰ ਬੁਰੇ ਫੁਰਨੇ, ਵਿਕਾਰੀ ਫੁਰਨੇ, ਮਾੜੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣੇ. ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹੀ ਸੁਚੇਤ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਸਰੀਰ ਕਰਕੇ, ਮਨ ਤਨ ਕਰਕੇ. ਉਹ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਕੋਲੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਵਿਵੇਕ ਬੁੱਧੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. So in English that means they're saying that they sacrifice, they surrender themselves to that Gursikh who has this virtue with them. That Gursikh, that individual, does not go near another man's wife or another wife's husband, right? So there's two interpretations of it. One is the physical and the other one is the mental. That physically they don't engage in any ill relationships, in any bad actions that the Guru Sahib Ji would not be happy with. And the mental being, they don't let any of vikari, lustful, or any of these bad negative thoughts enter their mind. So Satsanga, taking these two interpretations into consideration, that they go both hand in hand, because what we think becomes our actions, right? So we control our thinking in our mind through Gurbani, through Guru Sahib Sikhya. So Mara says, Parta Roop na Pekha Neta, that the Gursikhs do not look at Prai Roop, right? Akhin Sut ko Bekhana Parta Partan Roop. That looking at Paraitan, looking at someone else's belongings, it's the impurity of the eye. And so to really solidify and understand what this means, we can look into the Jivani of Sant Ramji. So Sant Ramji was a Gursikh from the time of Dhan Dhan Sri Guru Arjan Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj. And this Sakhi is from Jivan Chalitar, from Pandit Hari Singh Multan. And Bhagat Ji writes this Sakhi within their Sukhmani Sahib Steek as Satgur Seke Bandhan Kata Gur Ka Sekho Bekar Te Hata. So Satsang, what happens is, by Sant Ramji is blessed and has the opportunity of meeting Dhan Dhan Sri Guru Arjan Sahib Ji, gets to do their Sangat, receives Sikhi, is blessed with Gursikhi from Guru Arjan Sahib Ji. They get Charna Amrit, and from that day forth, they are forever lost, forever one with a Kalpur Vaheguru Ji, and they're always reading Sukhmani Sahib, always doing Abhyas of Gurbani, and keeping the Rat Bat of a Gursikh. And so from there, you can see that Guru Sahib Ji says, Lal Rango Tisko Laga Tiske Vat Bhaga Mela Kade Na Hova Nah Lagya Daga. That their face is radiant within the love of a Kalpur Vaheguru Ji. So from a worldly aspect, by Santaram Ji, their duty, that their job was that they were a guard, a security guard, a soldier for Jahangir out at Lahore. So one day while they're standing on guard at Lahore, Jahangir's daughter sees Santaram Ji, and upon seeing them, she falls in love. She sees his face, it's radiant, it's glowing, and amod ho jandi hai. So in her mind, she's fixated that I'm gonna marry Santaram Ji, and if I'm not marrying him, I'm not getting married at all. So that night she goes and tells her mother. She's like, Mother, I found the love of my life. I'm getting married to that guard over there, and other than him, I'm not getting married at all. So her mother tries to explain to her now that your father's never going to accept this. Don't worry, forget about him. We'll get you married to someone who's a king, who's a prince, a handsome prince with land, who's money, who's from a high caste, from a noble family. She says he's just low caste. He's a nobody. He has no money. He has no land. He's just a security guard. He's just a guard. He's just a soldier. And she's like, nope. Like, I've made my mind. I'm either marrying Santaramji. I'm not getting married. So she's like, chalo theek hai. I'll talk to your father. I'll see what he says. So the next day, the Begum, she goes and speaks with Jahangir, and she starts to explain to Jahangir that this is what your daughter is saying. She wants to marry him. She's very stubborn and she's not changing her mind. So Jahangir's like, it's not a problem. We'll have him accept Deen. He'll become Islam. He'll become Muslim, and then I'll give him land. And then upon giving him land, I'll make him a subedar. So a subedar is like a high position within the courts. And I'll make him a subedar, then he can marry my daughter, no problem. So all this conversation between Jahangir and the Begum and the Bibi is overheard by the maid, by the Goli. So now the Goli, the maid, her husband is also a guard who happens to be a friend and knows Santaramji. So the next day, the Goli goes home, tells her husband. The husband next day meets Santaramji and says, congratulations, Baji. Congratulations. And Santaramji's like, for what? What happened? And he's like, don't you know that, aaj tuade aur kalu tuada nikah padaya jana hai. And nikah means like the vow for marriage, that, tomorrow that you're going to get married to Jahangir's daughter. And he's like, wait, I didn't accept this. This is the first time I'm hearing this. What's going on? And she's like, no, this is what's happening, and they've announced it, and tomorrow you're getting married to Jahangir's daughter. And Santaram is like, no, this can't happen. This is against Sikhi. This is against the teachings that were given to me by Tan Sri Guru Arjan Sahib Ji. Jat Sat Rakhanava and Sir Jave Ta Jave Mere Sikhi Sikh Tak Na Jave. That even being handed the hand of the Jahangir's daughter and knowing what can come with it, with all the money, the land, possessions, the wealth, Santaramji is like, no, I don't need any of that. The real wealth is Naam, is Gurbani, is the Kushiyan of receiving the blessings of Guru Sahib. So Santaramji decides, he makes a plan, and what he does is they leave Lahore and they run away. So they want to protect their Sikhi at all costs, and the best thing what they thought at that point was just leaving and taking themselves out of that situation. So Santaramji, they're traveling at night and hiding during the day. So as they're doing this, they're running, they're going, and they make it to Peshawar. And at Peshawar, what happens is, all while this is happening, Jahangir finds out that Santaramji has run away. He's nowhere to be found. So he gets a huliya made. And a huliya is basically a description, a arrest warrant, a wanted poster, you can say. So it has all the description of, his name is Santaramji, this is his build, his height, his color, he has a beard, he has a turban, he's a Sikh. And he has two conditions that are at the bottom. And the two conditions are that if he accepts my daughter's hand in marriage, bring him a palki jalake with respect and with a grand entrance. Bring him from wherever you find him, bring him to Lahore. And if he says no, doesn't accept Deen, doesn't accept my daughter's hand, what's going to happen is bring me his head. So at this point, Santaramji is entering a Dharamshala. Dharamshala is sort of where you go to, it's a Sanji Jaga Hundiya. It's a community place where you can go pray and go rest. And they're entering the Dharamshala. And as they're entering, the soldiers, the police of Peshawar recognize the Huli and recognize Santaramji. So as soon as they recognize him, they arrest Santaramji. And even now that the sheriff, you can say, the head soldier, the head police guy, he tells Santaramji, he's like, why are you running? The opportunity and what you're being given, we all dream about. Big kings all around the world are dreaming about this, and you're being handed it on a golden platter, and you're saying no. You should take it. Enjoy life. Enjoy the pleasures. You'll have land, you'll have money, you'll have everything you want. And Santaramji's like, no. They said the same thing. Sir jave ta jave mere sikhi se tak na jave. And then there's another pankti from Shormani Bhagat Sri Bhagat Fareed Sahib Ji. They say, Jako Thakur Ucha Hoi, So Janu Parkar Jat Na Sohi. That who's Thakar Akal Par, who's Guru Sahib. is so big, whose Malik is so big, is Kot Brahmand Ko Thakur Swami Sarv Jiyan Ka Datare, is Sarv Kala Parpur. It doesn't suit that individual, that Gursikh, to go to a parkar, to do something against Sikhi. So knowing the Sikhya that they have from Gurbani, from Guru Sahib Ji, Thokar maar dinde hai. They reject everything. And so now the sheriff is like, if you reject it, then we have to cut your head off. We have to take your head back to Jahangir. And Bhai Sahib is like, that's not a problem. You can take my head, but I'm never giving my Sikhi up. And there's a Pankti, and Gursikhs never flinch, never hesitate in front of death. Because Jeevat Mara Bujja Parab Soye, O Pella hi Jionde Mare Hunde ya. Because Maharaj says, Pehla Maran Kabule, Jeevan ki chade aas, ho sabna ki renuka, to aao hamare paas hai. This was the avastha of Sant Ramji. So now Sant Ramji is preparing to get his head cut off. So what they do is they go to the nearest river, they take a bath, ishnan kar diya, and upon taking ishnan, they reach the Japji Sahib the Path. So Savdane Kagarjit hoke, ek man ek chit hoke, focused mind, they're reading Japji Sahib. And as they're reading Japji Sahib, they come to the last do panktiyan, Jinni naam te aya, gaye masakate kaale, nanak te muk ujjali, ujjale kete chutti naale. And as soon as they read this panktiyan, they bow down their head, they do namaskars. And as soon as they do namaskar, they bow their head to Tan Sri Guru Arjan Sahib Ji Maharaj. The Jalam, the soldiers, they cut their head off. So they cut their head off. They take Sant Ramji's body and throw it in the river, and they take his head back. They take their head back all the way back to Lahore. And as soon as they get to Lahore, they bring it to Jahangir. And Jahangir now calls his daughter and says, look at these kafir, look at these non-believers. Look at this non-believer. I was giving him the world. I was giving him, I was letting him marry you. I was giving him land. I was giving him a high position, and he rejected all that. And look at him now. He's just dead. His head's here. His body's somewhere else. And the Bibi sees this, and she's sort of like awestruck. She's a little scared now, and she's shook. And what she does is she's like, Chalo, when he was alive, when he was here, I wasn't able to get near him. But now that he's his head, maybe I'll try touching him, and I can at least touch his head now. So what she does, she goes to the platter where the Sant Ramji's head is, and she goes to touch him. And Guru Sahib Ji apne Sikhya di rakhya karde ya. Lajpat Ijjat, Guru Sahib Ji protects and takes care of their Sikhyan di Ijjat, their honor, even after their death, even after their Shaheedi. So what happens is the Bibi Jahangir's daughter goes to try touching Sant Ramji's head, and as soon as she goes to reach out, their head goes Sawa Git off the plate into the air. So Sawa Git, it's like a very Desi Punjabi way of measuring. So Sawa Git will be, one Git is from my pinky all the way to the thumb. So that's a Git. So Sawa Git is 1.5 of these. And the Pankti says, Sawa Galist Util To Na Kubuli Nare. So even then they didn't accept her. They didn't go near her. Par Nari de Nere Na Java. Even after their Shaheedi, their death, they didn't go near another Parayistri. And she sees this and she cries out. She's like, oh Allah, look at this. Look how pure and high virtues and character and morals that these Gursikhs have. And look how strong their Guru is, how bali their Guru is, that they take care of their Sikhs even after their death, even after their Shaheedi. And look how impure and filthy I am, that I'm unable to touch Sant Ramji, this Mahapurk. So Sasangujiyo, this is the high standard, this is the Sikhya, the morals and the ethics that every single Gursikh should uphold, that we have been blessed with. And this is the type of Sikhya that should be given to everybody, and especially at a young age. Because from a young age, if we teach kids at such a young age about Sant Ramji, Baba Dev Singh Ji, when they, and other Baba Paisa Pai Taru Singh Ji and countless other Gursikhs that used to save the Bibiyan from the Mughals' hands and bring them back and take them to their house and protect the honor, the Ijjat of the Bibiyan. And they looked at every single Bibi as the daughters of Guru Sahib, as their sisters, right? So this type of Sikhya given at a young age will build and foster a good character, to where the kids and everybody can have a good foundation. So as kids are growing up, when they're going from middle school to high school to universities, that they know what's right, what's wrong. they have the vivek buddhi, the sat, the asat da gyan, knowing what's right and wrong, what's true, what's false. So these types of sikkha, these types of pankti of haunte so kol kamaya par nari de ned na java should be meditated upon all the time to insert and instill it within our minds. And another pankti of Paisa Pai Gurdas Sahib Ji is because before in the beginning we were saying that our thoughts become our actions. So whatever we think and whatever we cultivate in our mind becomes is what we do, becomes our actions. So the controlling our actions starts with controlling our thoughts in our mind, and that can only happen through Guru Sahib Ji's Kirpa, through Gurbani, through Gurmukh. So Bhai Sahib Ji says, by controlling your eyes, those ill thoughts, those negative thoughts of looking at a Prai Istri or Prai Pork will enter your mind. So if you look at every Istri as, as your mother, your sister, or your daughter, then buri niga, that those ill thoughts, those vikari thoughts will enter the mind. And same thing for Parathai Sakhi Mahapurukh Bolde. So even for Bibiyan, if they look at every man as, their father, as their brother, or as their sons, that those vikari thoughts will enter the mind. And so some techniques and some ways to do this is Bhagaji Jaswant Singh Sahib Ji is always preaching this. Is the first thing we do is that you do pankti jap, that dekhe paraiyan changiyan mawa behna tiyan jana, dekhe paraiyan changiyan mawa behna tiyan jana, not just once, not then, over and over again. So we do pankti jap of panktis like this, or dekhe paraiyan changiyan mawa behna tiyan jana, akhin su tuk vekhna, jinnah disando ma pari se akhadiyan bayan ne, right? That you need pure eyes to see Guru Sahib Ji, right? We can't have filth in front of our eyes, that if there's filth, then Shudh Brahm Ji de darshan nahi hunde. So to have vitar and Shudh eyes, that we need to do pankti like this and look with good intentions and see Jo Disa So Tera Roop. And this happens through Maharaji's Kirpa, through doing Gurbani the job, through doing Simran, through doing Seva. And another way is, so one is doing pankti job, and you have to do pankti job before you get in that situation. So if we're out and about in school or in work, wherever we're at, that this should be the vision. This should be how we're looking and perceiving everything. And then for that to happen, we need to do job of it beforehand. Just like, we want to learn how to swim in case you're in a situation where you're drowning. And if you're drowning, you can't say, okay, look, I'm going to take swimming lessons now. It's a little sticky situation there. So you want to be able to learn how to swim before you even get in that situation. Same thing. So before those vikari thoughts enter our mind, or we're stuck in that situation where, where like Santaramji was per se, that you can get out of it. Because by Santaramji had the Sikh from Guru Sahib beforehand as well, right? So one way is doing pankti job. The other way is to literally do job, that if a istri or a paipork enters your vision, enters your eyesight, that you do job that he or she is Guru Nanak Dev Ji's daughter, she is Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji's daughter, she is Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji's daughter, she is Guru Granth Sahib Ji's daughter, she is the daughter of Guru Khalsa Panth, and so forth. Do job of all the gurus like that. So two things happen in the same token. One, we get to remember all of our Guru Sahib Jis, and two, we're reminding ourselves that she or he are the sons and daughters of Guru Sahib. And by default, that means they're my brother and they're my sister. So doing pankti job like that. So Bhagaji even says that when a bad forna enters the mind, to get rid of that forna, you do job like that. That if a forna comes into your mind, you start doing job of, she is Guru Nanak Dev's daughter, she is Guru Angad Dev Sahib's daughter, she is Guru Amar Das Sahib's daughter, and so forth. And another way is that to always know and to realize that Guru Sahib is always with us. They're always with you. Guru mera sange sada hai nalle. That when we know that Guru Sahib is with us, then bura forna or bure karam, doing ill, committing a sin, doing something bad, those won't happen because we know Guru Sahib is with us. And then when Guru Sahib is with us, we have that fear of doing something wrong. And that when Guru Sahib is with us, then we have the strength to do what's right in the situation. So Guru mera sange sada hanale. So two panktiyan came in today's Sant Bhagaji was Nekate Gujja, so Bura Kyon Kara. So that Gursevak who has through Guruji's Kirpa has realized that Guru Sahib Kal Pur is Nerhu Te Nera, that they're always with me, they're always Hazar Nazar ne. why would that Gursikh do anything bad? They won't, because they know Guru Sahib is with them. And the other pankti within that same shabd is Nekate na dekha par kar jahi. So that individual that does not realize that Guru Sahib is with them at all times, they end up doing par kar jandeya. They have these ill relationships, they end up committing adultery, and fir ogun ho jandeya, paap ho janda va. So we have to have the realization that Guru Sahib Ji is always and always with us. So I'm just going to check the time to see him on time, and almost entering the half an hour mark. So Satsanga Jiyo, just to close off, that with this type of sikha of doing, remembering our shaheeds, of remembering our Gursikhs, doing pankti job, having high morals and characters, and the thing I almost forgot to say was Jatasat. That Jatasat is very, very key. And Jat means that controlling our indriyan. So indriyan daman karna, controlling our senses of how we see, what we hear, what we say, what we talk about, what we smell, what we eat. So it's controlling our body in a sense. And that also happens through Gurbani. So Sasi is a small Saki so this Saki was shared by the Singh who happened to him, and he shared it with Bhagaji. And he says was that there was a bibi in the bend, and I ended up having bad thoughts about her, and I started looking at her with vikar dristi. And one day when she was doing parkarma and Guru Sahib Zazuri, she was at the Gurdwara, and I was just there, and he was just lost, and he was just staring at her. And so that bibi saw this, and she saw that, that Virji, that Singh is looking at me in a bad way. So what she did was, very humbly, she went to him and said, Virji taru tirji nasvant hai sarirji. And she said, Virji, that you should do job of Re man aso kar sanyasa, ban se sadana sabha kar samjaho, man hi mah udasa. So that Singh says he went on and did job of that Pavitr Bani Pankti Sava Lakh times, 125,000 times. He did Pankti job of that entire Sampurna Shabd. And he's like, by doing job of that Shabd, my those ill thoughts that were in my mind were cleaned. And I was blessed by Guru Sahib Ji. So Jatasat is very, very key. And it's very key in progressing in spirituality. To gain any avastas, Jatasat is basically the foundation that we have. So Sasing, there's more sikha of character and our morals and ethics of Jatsat. And through Guruji's Kirpa, Gurprasad, Bhagavad Jaswant Singh Ji, over a year, 2 years, have been preparing a new Pothi Sahib on this topic. It goes through all of, the in-depth of the Jyoti Karat of adultery, and how, what to do, what not to do, and how to save ourselves, and the sikha we should be giving to our kids, and sikha that we should be having in first place so we can give it to the kids. And so it's called the Character Pothi, Pataraki Gurbar Brahm, that 10 Guru Sahib Ji's Bakshte Han Shubh Sachai Khalak. The Guru Sahib Ji is blessing us with a good character. So that Pothi isn't published yet, isn't final yet, but if anybody would like a copy, you can always direct message us at Gursevak on Instagram, or WhatsApp us at 306-580-7730, and we'll send a copy out. But just to note that it's still in the editing phases, so we're still trying to fix out the mistakes and add some stuff and add more sikha and sakis of that sort. And lastly, so Satsanga Jiyo, Das and Das has made many mistakes, so please forgive me. Sada Sada Eho Bhulan Haru, Nanak Rakhan Haru Aparu. And let's do Benti and Ardas in the Pavitr Charan Kamal of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Ke Sache Paatshah Ji, Saarya Nu Shubh Sacha Ucha Nirmal Gurmukh Akhlaq Jat Sata Dan Baksh Sache Paatshah Ji, Ki Kaam Krodh Lobh Jhoot Ninda Inte Aap Chhadav Ho, Eh Bhitar Te Inko Dar Ho, Aapane Nekate Balav Ho. Sada Sada Eho Bhulan Haru, Nanak Rakhan Haru Aparu. And lastly, Satsanga Jiyo, please download the app, Learn Shudh Gurbani. It's an app prepared from Bhagaji to do Santha, to read Gurbani, to search Gurbani. And please take a laha, download it. Available on Android and iOS. So Satsanga Jiyo, Aao Gaj Ke Fateh Bulaiye. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Kushiyan de Jagare Gajave, Nyalo Yave, Sant Ram Ji de Chanda Nu Vave. ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। To learn more, please visit
Gursevak.com